Welcome to Food Shrinks.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Molly C here. Okay. So we have this whole podcast plan today, but last night I was scrolling Instagram. We're like, our greatest desire is to allow for this podcast to be like,
authentic time with us, like an authentic, what's true. So last night I was scrolling Instagram, breaking all of my blue light rules. And
How very human of you.
as we do,
At night, right? Of course.
at like 9 p.m., past my bedtime,
Yeah.
trying to find what I was looking for from God in Instagram. And I came across this post, and I don't hope you guys weren't sleeping, because I reached out to my power circle.
I'm 2 hours behind you, so don't you ever worry about that.
Yeah.
I was literally doing like down regulation exercise. Listen, like, I'm not a religious person, but I'm a very, very spiritual person. And I will safely say, without any shame, that my relationship with God, with my higher power, like, is the most important relationship in my life. Learning that, we'll do another podcast on this, but whatever. So I come across this post that basically is a coach saying that people should not consider bariatric surgery or GLP-1s unless they're really, really straight with God. You guys, I don't know. You all should watch the YouTube version of this if you want to see a girl on fire, which is me. You guys, I like want to cry.
Yeah.
So wait, okay, so then I do a lot of restraint because I want to like text this woman. I want to like post. But I'm like, you know what, Mal, like, do some research. Go do, because you know what? I don't know about you guys. I have treated so many people that have come from so much abuse.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I read this, which may or may not be right. I'm open, is like, it's sort of like monetizing God. And
Yeah.
it's making a lot of assumptions. I probably, it's just making so many assumptions as though people are capable of it, as whatever. And in the end, I think would make an argument for a client that if they're not like doing well, quote unquote, that they're not faithful enough.
Yeah.
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 I don't know
Which
about
it feels a lot like 12 step when they're like, you're not working the program hard enough or something, when that messaging
Yes.
gets given to somebody. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, the mall, even that, I think, a program, you're not directly attacking a relationship with God. To
Right.
me, the work I had to do in my own relationship with God was create like a forgiving, omnipotent, loving higher power that, like, it's okay that I make mistakes. Like, so anyway,
Yeah.
so that's my first problem to bring to pod today. But my second problem I want to bring to pod today, which is a thing I think the three of us really lean into, is so then I go on like a dive. I got put on my detective hat and I go to this woman's website because I really want to see how she's trained. I go to LinkedIn. She doesn't exist on LinkedIn. Oh, and she has so many followers. Whatever. Good. I'm like off internet. I'm off social. So I could be jealous of that, but I don't try at it. So I go to her website, cannot find anything on her website about training. No idea. So basically, she's running off her own personal experience, which is a really great thing. But I don't know. The nuance that I've learned in getting so much training is really what makes me into a good helper. But then then here, I will finish after this. Then I scroll to the bottom of the website. So this woman really making a suggestion that it reminds me so much of when the intuitive eating author on my other podcast said to me that the intuition can override any any ultra processed food like and I was like, all right, so I gotta go. Because that was just the wildest thing I'd ever heard.
Yeah.
So I go to the bottom of so I can't figure out how she's trained. Her marketing is amazing. I would like to like maybe go hire her marketers. But at the bottom of it, it says Information provided on this website is not designed to and does not provide medical advice, even though she just offered medical advice. It's not provided to provide professional diagnosis, treatment, or services. It's not a substitute for medical or professional care, even though the post just said that. The post literally just said, instead of doing medical care, go get a deeper relationship with God.
Yeah.
And you should always seek the advice of your physician or mental health professional before taking action in response to information on this website. And by the way, nobody except for little Nancy Drew over here gets to the bottom.
Right. Reading the
only
tiny little
reason-
fine print.
Yeah.
Disclaimer. Yeah, it should have started with that.
At the bottom of the website because I'm desperate to find out how she's trained. Okay, your thoughts. So I'm appalled, and I just want to say, listener, we have to take our power back. You have to, if somebody is doing that victim blaming, which is what it is, get out, like run, go find another. I love Christianity. I love religion. I love God. I have great Christian counselors. Rona Epstein, one of my dearest friends, one of the best Christian food addiction counselors. I mean, she is a social worker, and she's been in the field like before it was invented. She's like in Marty Lerner's era. Like, she's amazing. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm done. I'm done talking. Allegedly.
I think the problem in our field is that there is a lot of people who are just out there selling their own personal experience and don't have the professional training.
Which I think happens in other areas though, too. I mean, I think I do want to give like that kind of a little bit of attention in that this is the world of coaching, that people with their own personal experiences of losing weight, of getting a relationship with God, of going through divorce, of navigating infidelity within marriage, whatever it might be, people are out there with their own personal experiences saying, this is what worked for me. And now I'm going to like create a program and I'm going to give it to you. And if you just do it the way that I did it, right, that's the selling point. If you just do exactly what I tell you to do, if you just do it the way I did it, all will be well. I'll get you through it.
Right. And I think we all know, I mean, I think this is the commonality of so much of our friendship and our professional relationship and admiration. I probably have 100 different treatment plans. Does that make sense? If I have 100 clients. And so my issue here though, you guys, is like that there is someone who's not a doctor, who doesn't have that, maybe, I mean, I don't think has that, she's only been off sugar 4 years. I know a lot about her.
I was just going to say that.
If whatever there is to know about her is in my big brain today. And by the way, great marketing that we're even having a podcast on this. Can we
That's
on
right.
Yeah, let's honor that. Yeah.
on an aside. Wow. Great job, girl. Who in the world would say to not consider these really like medically sound interventions at this point, right? Like, and that you really need to invite God into it before you do that. I don't know. I just think it's so audacious. I don't have words. What's your take on that, y'all?
I think for me, she's totally not alone in that opinion, and that I've heard it a lot, especially in colleagues who are very much involved in the 12-step world or in the more religious aspect of things. And I truly wonder if it's not like, if there's not like some fear base, if there's not like a little bit of that, like, well, I did it without those things, you should have to too. You know, it almost feels very reminiscent of what's happening, not to get off track totally, but very reminiscent of what's happening in our country, in the US, as far as like just take like student loan forgiveness as an example, right? There are those people who came decades before somebody like me saying, hey, I paid for it, whatever, you should have to too. And I'm going, yeah, your education cost a fraction of what mine did. Not that I'm asking for whatever, but I'm just saying that like, you can't compare, it's apples to oranges, right? That there's no comparison here. And just because somebody's able to do it without GLP-1s because those weren't available to them, or without bariatric surgery because for one reason or another, it wasn't available to them, or within their means or whatever, and they did it without, does not mean that is true for everybody else. But there's this real push, at least in our country, I feel like from one half of the people, to put their belief system on everybody else from this very moral standpoint versus from like a social justice or public health policy, like bigger picture kind of feel to it. I don't know. It just feels very, I'm not surprised.
It feels
I
very
guess.
polarized.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
the other thing I want
Polarized,
to
not surprised.
say is if we even take it from a data perspective, right? She's an outlier. Like somebody who has lost like a bunch of weight, God, and breaking up with sugar, and an outlier that without train, like I know that because I'm trained, like it's just like to not be kind enough to say, you should look at all of this and bring God in. Let's do all of it. Like to me, it's so, we're so vulnerable. I don't know about you guys. Like when I would go to these people, when I was really struggling, I was as vulnerable as they came.
Yeah.
Like I would just have done anything for somebody to promise me something. And I take that so seriously.
Yeah. And I think that
Definitely.
so many people are vulnerable and they will believe whatever, somebody might present with a great marketing program.
But what if I play devil's advocate and I say that's her argument too? That these very vulnerable clients or people are seeing results or hearing about the magic of GLP-1s or bariatric surgery or whatever. And maybe that's where she's coming from with it. I guess I'm not really sure, but obviously it's a really important thing to continue to have a discussion about.
Well, the second part of the post says this, Mal.
Lay it on me.
I love a devil's advocate. I love this podcast.
Yeah.
Why risk serious side effects or permanent irreversible damage if you could achieve it naturally?
Yeah, ouch. That's predatory.
You don't
I feel.
change the diet, likely regain anyway. So yes, I think if it ended at that first one, it's actually a nice post. Like I actually believe in it. We need to deal with the whole person.
Yeah.
The emotion, spirituality. Truly, also, I'll say, and I would be dead without bariatric surgery, even though I ate my way through it and gained so much of my weight back. It really did save my life. And
I have many clients who feel the exact same way, that they know that bariatric surgery actually allowed them to stay within their means and find recovery. Wouldn't have done it otherwise.
People on GLPs who have a solid spiritual program, I mean, it's a mirror, who have a solid commitment to their recovery. I've never seen a more amazing drug. I've also seen like eating disorders are created for them too, but under the guise of what I'm complaining about today. The combination, the two are very powerful. And I think in many ways, threatening our business. I think people are very threatened by these GLPs and very threatened by this bariatric surgery because it does put people out of business. As Molly Pio says, I'm happy to be out of business, right?
I am happy to be out of business. But I think that's very telling, right? Is that if somebody is that fearful that they're going to be out of business, then doesn't that to me, then I'm like, well, then you have a vested interest in me staying sick.
Yeah.
And that's disgusting.
That's the idea.
That's disgusting. Now you are no better than any of the people that you're saying, than any of the big food companies, than any of the big farm, right? Like all these people that you're saying, whatever, like you then also have a vested interest in me staying sick. And that I can't get behind at all.
I just graduated 2 patients this week.
Oh, yay.
I know. And so I'm like, do you have any opening? I was like, I had to graduate 2 people. I was like, we have nothing to talk about. They're like, what are we going to do? I was like, you'll be fine. That's what you're going to do. You're going to be fine. Oh, guys. But I do wish that we could create like you guys did it on your podcast, like some kind of like questionnaire about, because these marketing techniques are brilliant. Again, like her marketing is amazing. So anyway, I mean, I don't want to make the podcast about me. I know you guys did a thing on Food Junk. I think to me, it's like, I want us all, I want listener, like you're so allowed to fire people.
Yes.
And there are so many people doing this work. Like it is the Wild West of coaching. when you guys did a Food Junkies episode on this, what's your parameters of this? What are the things you want people to think about?
Well, I think like it's really important to interview whoever you are going to work with. You need to feel rapport with them and you need to like quiz them. And on the Food Junkies podcast that we did specifically on this, we provided a whole bunch of questions that any individual can take with them to, speak to whatever therapist they're working with. Most offer like a 15-minute or a 30-minute consultation.
What is your take on coaches? I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think you have to be trained, right?
That's it. I think that's it. Totally. Right. Like
And
anybody can call themselves a counselor. Anybody can
Yeah.
call themselves a coach. We can't just like take that title and think that that means that they have the same professional standard as somebody who, is an actual licensed therapist or somebody who maybe has come from a more like educational background, whatever it might be. Like there are plenty of people who are registered dietitians or have been nurses or whatever, and then they get out of, conventional healthcare and they get into coaching, so it is worth asking those questions. Like, do you belong to professional organizations?
Yeah.
Do you do continuing education? What is there client confidentiality? Is this the same as if I were to go to a therapist or to a doctor? Does HIPAA apply or whatever, the confidentiality is in your country? Like, how do you work with clients? What is the recidivism, or not recidivism, but like, like what is like the rate of which people do graduate or return, that kind of thing.
The other thing I think is like, are you coached? What do I do if you relapse?
Yes. Yes.
If I'm just there on your personal experience, like, I'm coming out of this struggle right now. Thank God I don't just have my story to rely on. Thank God I have all this training, whatever, or else I'd be like, I have nothing to give you today because maybe the program doesn't, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is a really important topic. And I've said this before. I say this to my clients. I've said it to Clarissa. I say it to everybody, like, if I'm not willing to buy what I sell, that's not okay either. Right. So I go and get my own therapy. I go and get my own, right. Like we have our professionals because of exactly what you just said. Right. We have to maintain tools. We have to maintain, some sort of stability in our life. And that's part of my recovery program. Like my recovery is never done, as far as I'm concerned. For me, I'm always like trying to get at that itch that just can't quite be scratched just yet. And I'm finding different ways around it. Do I make it my life's purpose and my whole personality? No, I'm out there living life too. But when I need to rely on somebody with the ability to be my prosthetic prefrontal cortex, or whatever, I know that I have those people that I can trust, that it's not like you were saying, just like somebody's personal program where like now they're back in it, whatever it might be. And they're like, yeah, sorry, I can't take your call right now because I'm not okay either.
Worse, just sitting there lying.
Yeah.
It's just like, I want everybody to know, like you deserve the best. And this person might actually be your person. I don't even.
Oh, totally.
I'm not, I'm throwing some stones, but like, I'm not saying this person I just want you to look at how easy it is to blame the victim.
Exactly.
And you're not a victim.
No.
So don't listen. And these interventions that have been created by the medical, I have plenty to say about the medical field. I'm sure you're shocked, but, but like, these interventions are life-changing. I believe in God. For some of us, there's only so much like the endocrine system, the nervous system, and the spiritual system. I would argue these things might have been made by God in some way. Like, who knows? What do we know?
Yeah.
There's a whole other argument on that, right? What a
totally.
miracle that we've created this, but the numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And to lose, I think to lose 70 to over 100 pounds is, I hate to say this, like nearly impossible. And it doesn't mean that you hire the person that's done it. I think that's wonderful. It's just the replication of that from a data point. It's unlikely you're going to do it if it's not really easy for you.
That's just it. I mean, these are tools that can allow you to get that space in order to use other tools and skills and gain some sort of like stability in your life so that that kind of medical intervention, like, we know that that sometimes losing just a small percentage of weight can improve health outcomes,
Right.
Significantly. And that's between you and your medical provider for sure. But when these tools are, when they're saying, nope, you got to keep doing, you got to just try harder doing the thing that you were already doing, and don't use these other tools that would actually give you the space, the breathing room to be able to use those tools. That's the problem for me. So, I guess I'm a big fan of, Molly, you always say, if somebody tells you there's one way, run away. And this, while this person may not be saying there's one way, it certainly feels that way. And so like, that's where I start getting a little bit mama bear for people who are reading these posts or listening to, anything that she might be, talking about on a podcast or a news program or something, because like you were saying, we're just very vulnerable. We're very very easily influenced because we just want to be better. We just want to change the issue.
I had this patient once. Just remembered the story. She worked with me a while. She was really struggling. I think she ended up, I forget what happened. She ended up, oh no, she was really struggling. And I guess she just decided that she didn't want to work with me anymore. And I just looked at her and I said, I completely respect this change that you want to make. And all I want to tell you is, I believe that you can get well. I don't know if it's with me. If like I will hold the belief that you can heal until the day I die.
Yeah.
If you ever want to come back, I'm here. And whomever you work with, you need to hold that belief.
Yes.
Right. Because we deal with so much of that fear of success because of so much failure, like all of that that diet vulture culture stuff. I just hate anybody who, especially someone who has had success in food addiction recovery, saying you're going to gain it all back anyway. Like, we don't know that. Like, how many Weight Watchers meetings have you gone to where they're like, unless you have the behavioral change, like it'll never work. Like, duh.
Yeah.
It's so shaming. I believe everyone can heal. And there are lots of different ways to do it. Sorry, Clarissa.
Yeah.
What did you want to say?
That's good.
I'm on fire.
I'm so fired up and just like listening to this conversation. And I feel exactly like you're saying, is that just this is such a vulnerable population and we have to empower them rather than tear them down.
Yeah. I'm telling you, you know how to beat yourself up better and shame yourself and believe you're going to gain the weight back better than any marketer, better than and like, I'm sure everybody here knows that if you're going to continue to eat somewhere in their soul, if you're going to continue to eat, cheesecake and potato chips and cupcakes and go on GLP-1s or have bariatric surgery, the intervention's not going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. Newsflash.
Yeah.
But it's a great thing to try if your doctor recommends it. The data's looking great on all of it.
Well, I mean, I think that we'll have to continue that conversation as it goes on, and we will have to talk more about these medications and interventions. But certainly, I think at the end of the day, just know that we all believe you can get well.
Yeah. What's we have an email. I'm so interested to hear our listeners' thoughts on this.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's
totally.
the email that we have? Like, I'm so curious. Like, what do you guys think of all this, like, vulture coaching?
Yeah, it's asktheshrinks@foodshrinks.com.
Ooh. Email us. We're obsessed with you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in a good mood now. Thanks, guys. What do I owe you for the hour? Have friends that are coaches. Love Molly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Thanks for listening to Food Shrinks. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance suited to your needs. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach others on the recovery journey. Take care and remember, freedom with food is possible. See you next time.